What if the dream you had last night wasn't just imagination, but a visit to an actual world? Across history, people believed exactly that, from Egyptian temples designed for dream incubation to Jung's vision of dreams as doorways into the shared unconscious. And modern thinkers push even further, suggesting dreams could be glimpses of parallel realities. Tonight, we'll explore what it means if your nightly journeys aren't just symbols, but traveling to places as real as waking life. Would that change how you see yourself each morning? Before we begin, a gentle reminder to like and subscribe. It helps Night Atlas share more stories with the world. Picture yourself lying on a stone floor under the painted ceiling of a temple. The air is cool. Flickering oil lamps mark the edges of the chamber, and outside, the night is silent. Men and women come here to sleep, but not as we know it. They rest with the hope that the gods will step into their dreams. To them, the dream was not just a passing image of the mind. It was a pathway, an open door, and if you were patient enough, it might show you guidance, warning, or even healing. In the soft quiet of these sanctuaries, the dream carried the weight of the divine. In the lands of the pharaohs, dream watching was more than curiosity. Egyptians had a practice known as temple sleep, where one could enter sacred places hoping for a message from deities. Travelers would purify themselves, sometimes fasting, sometimes washing in holy water, before laying down within the temple walls. If a dream came, priests helped them uncover its meaning. A simple dream of a snake, for example, might suggest protection or renewal, while a vision of clear water flowing could be seen as promise of fertility. These were not private musings. They might guide family decisions, offer explanations for illness, or even influence choices of rulers and policies. Dreams, for them, were not shadows. They were conversations. Far to the east, in Mesopotamian cities, kings treated their nightly visions with serious attention. Clay tablets that have survived thousands of years show how scribes kept detailed records of dreams and their signs. A storm appearing in sleep could mean the favor or anger of a god ready to act. Seeing oneself walking through fire might suggest dangers ahead, urging caution in upcoming battles. Rulers consulted dream interpreters as advisors, blending the mysterious with the practical. These interpreters did not simply tell stories. They served the governance of entire regions. An omen misread could mean a war entered too soon or an alliance abandoned. Ordinary people also carried their dreams to such interpreters, hoping to learn if a marriage would flourish or a harvest would succeed. To dream was to receive information, a secret thread that could alter one's life. The question always lingered, though. Were these true divine signs, or were they inner stirrings of the mind? People in those societies did not sharply divide the two. To them, the gods could live within the spaces of the mind, so a vision in sleep could just as easily come from outside as inside. A dream felt as binding as a spoken prophecy, yet the fragile and strange images left room for debate. That tension between outer world and inner world is something we still recognize today. When you wake from a dream that feels vivid and heavy with meaning, you might pause. Is it saying something to me? Or is it just the dream world playing with stray thoughts? One way to ease the uncertainty was to create manuals for reading symbols. Egyptian dream books listed objects and events alongside their possible meaning. A crocodile rising from the river might signal danger waiting nearby. A dream of stars seen bright and clear in the sky might reflect the presence of divine favor. Such texts acted almost like dictionaries of the unseen world. Anyone with access could learn the common symbols and feel steadier in interpretation. Of course, each dream still felt personal, but these catalogs tried to weave them into a shared language, offering a sense of order inside the unruly tangle of night visions. Meanwhile, Greek thinkers began to treat the subject with gentle curiosity rather than pure devotion. In healing temples dedicated to Asclepius, the god of medicine, patients would sleep in chambers, hoping for dreams that offered cures. Some dreams told them which herb to use, others showed symbolic acts of healing. The temple staff took these seriously, yet at the same time, philosophers began asking whether dreams might not only rise from gods, but also from human senses themselves. Aristotle wondered if dreams were echoes of sensory impressions. Perhaps the noise of a passing cart outside stirred an image of rolling thunder within the sleeper's mind. Maybe hunger shaped the imagery of feasts or famine in a dream. Here lies a contrast. Sacred practice treated dreams as holy, while early science leaned toward natural causes, though without discarding the mystery completely. This mix of reverence and reasoning still held sway. Imagine a shepherd dreaming of a lion near his flock. For him, it felt real enough to prepare for wolves in the morning. Imagine a general before battle seeking sleep not only for rest, but for a glimpse of how events might unfold. One dream might set the course of an entire campaign. This is the striking point. What we now often call imagination could sway rulers, soldiers, healers, and ordinary families alike. In other words, what someone dreamed might become bricks and orders in daytime reality. The healing temples themselves embodied this duality of belief and practice. A patient with a stubborn illness would journey to a sanctuary, purify their body, and then sleep inside its walls. In the dream, they might see Asclepius appear to touch their wound, or be shown animals whose traits hinted at remedies. On waking, they shared these dreams with priests, who prescribed treatments accordingly. Whether the healing arose from faith, suggestion, or some other power, the practice endured for centuries. For those who participated, it was not about doubting, but about trusting that the dream could reveal the path to health. In Greece, this attitude coexisted with more skeptical lines of thought. Alongside Aristotle, other writers speculated that dreams could be byproducts of digestion, physical sensations, or fatigue of the body. The act of questioning did not erase the reverence, however. People still filled temples to sleep in holy spaces. Thus the dream became both a tool of science and a flame of faith, holding two meanings at once. If we look closely, we see that ordinary dreaming, what to us might feel random or personal, once became tied to matters of state, medicine, and divine ritual. For ancient rulers, a nightmare could alter the timetable for war. For a farmer, a vision of clear skies could reassure them about crops. That significance lifted dreams beyond the private mind. They became part of shared history, guiding collective choices. So when we consider these practices, it's clear that dreams carried as much practical importance as they did spiritual. They shaped how leaders governed, how healers treated, and how families made sense of hardship and hope. Dreams, in those traditions, were not idle sparks forgotten at dawn. They rippled into the daylight, showing that visions of the night could construct very real consequences in the world. And the thought lingers quietly here. If our ancestors laid down in temples or filled tablets with symbols because they truly believed dreams were doors into real worlds, then we must ask, could that still be true for us? When you next close your eyes, might you also be stepping into a realm where the lines between inside and outside, spirit and body, mind and world, are softer than we usually allow ourselves to see? What if a dream hides within it the very truths we never say out loud? You might go through your day holding back words, keeping feelings folded away where no one can see. Yet when you close your eyes, something slips through as images you may not understand at first. The quiet of night becomes a stage where the unsaid begins to act itself out. A passing image can feel small, but what if the dream is showing us a secret that waits beneath the surface of daily life? Think of sleep as a kind of guardian. During the night, your mind is not only resting, but protecting itself too. One way it does this is by shaping dreams in such a way that you do not wake up frightened or overwhelmed. We can picture it like a gentle trick, a disguise. Troubles and questions that you push aside during the day do not simply vanish. They return at night, dressed as symbols. A locked door, a strange journey, an unexpected guest at the table. Each one might hide a piece of your hidden thoughts. In this way, the dream works not against you, but for you, guarding your sleep by covering difficult truths inside images that might confuse you, yet still carry meaning if you are willing to look closer. Yet doubt always lingers. If a dream is just a puzzle of hidden wishes, are they only personal whispers? Or do they speak of something greater that connects us all? When you dream of losing your way, do you see only your own worries, or do you touch something that many people before you also felt? Is a dream only your memory shifting in secret shapes? Or is it a signal that the personal blends with the universal? One view holds that dreams disguise desires. They take what you cannot admit to yourself and wrap it in symbols. Perhaps a simple object becomes a mask for hunger or for longing you pushed aside. The dream builds small worlds where such hidden feelings act themselves out in secret. It can be a place where wishes are fulfilled in ways you would not allow when awake. By crafting plots and characters, your mind navigates what daily life represses. Once you wake, the surface story may seem strange, but beneath it waits the hidden motive. But another vision of dreams points toward something larger. Imagine libraries holding timeless symbols that many cultures have seen, even without meeting each other. A storm appearing in one person's dream may mean inner conflict, just as for another across the world. A journey through dark woods, a bridge leading into fog, a shadow following close beside. These scenes repeat across time and place. It is almost as if beneath the surface of every personal dream lies a shared language, one that does not belong to just you but to all of us. The dream is not only your story, but part of a common memory older than you, carried within the collective mind. Take the image of a storm. For a farmer, it may recall harsh weather. For a worker in a city, it may symbolize inner turmoil. For both, the meaning feels personal. And yet, storms appear in the dreams of countless people. The same with journeys, walking along a winding path, crossing rivers, stepping into caves. These images touch something deeper than individual memory. They seem to echo across generations, speaking in a code that humanity has always known. Shadowed figures appear too, sometimes as fear, sometimes as teachers, sometimes neither. Each carries a piece of that universal script, showing us that in dreams we may share symbols even if our lives are completely different. When we look at this, the tension becomes clear. On one side stands the idea of dreams as cloaked personal wishes, pressing against the walls of sleep to display themselves. On the other side stands the idea of dreams connected to a timeless source, filled with symbols anyone from any corner of Earth might see. Are dreams only our private reflections, or are they borrowed from something we all belong to? That question makes the dream both intimate and vast at the same time. So dreams become doors leading in two directions. Entering one path, the dream brings you into your own hidden heart, showing what you cannot yet face. Entering the other path, it leads into a shared library where stories and symbols stretch back through all of humanity. Either way, the dream does not leave you idle. It opens into realms beyond your daily sense of self. It guides, unsettles, or comforts, but it never stops at surface level. And in doing this, it shows that night visions are not merely random things. They can cut to the center of who you are, while also linking you to countless others who saw the same storms, journeys, or shadows long before you were born. And perhaps this joining of the personal with the universal hints at something subtle already underway. Maybe, without realizing it, we spend each night crossing thin boundaries. While sleeping, we may walk upon ground that is both ours and not ours, memories both personal and timeless, figures both born of desire and carved from deeper history. In this way, the dream might not only reflect or symbolize, but also transport, a crossing point between self and a larger field of mind. Picture yourself drifting into sleep after a long day. You enter a landscape not chosen by you. There is a road leading toward a horizon you do not know. In that moment, do you wander inside your own unconscious? Or do you step into a collective ground shared by every person who has ever dreamed before? The difference is hard to tell, yet the experience reminds you that dreams always suggest more than surface imagination. And the thought grows even deeper when we look to the possibility that dreams might not stay only as symbols. If within sleep you stand at the threshold of two realms, then who is to say that what you see is not in some sense real? A key idea repeats: symbols can point beyond themselves. Maybe symbols do more than disguise wishes or connect histories. Maybe they mark true doors. And if that is the case, then the dream world may not be only about meaning, but movement. We already sense this each time we wake from a dream that feels more powerful than waking memory. When the details slip away, yet the feeling lingers so deeply it shapes your morning mood, you know it was not just a passing thought. You carry traces of another place. They cling to you like morning dew. The image straightens your path. The feeling colors how you greet the day. That lasting touch tells you, at least for an instant, that the dream was not only some hidden truth of the mind, but something that reached further. This is why people still pause after certain dreams. Why an ordinary person might stop and wonder, what was that message trying to show me? You can feel it. Some stories do not only live inside, they stretch outward, whispering of something more. Maybe we already cross borders each night without knowing it. Perhaps our dreams are less about stillness and more about small journeys already begun. And if so, we reach a quiet but astonishing question. If it is not symbolic at all, but literal travel, then to where do we go each time we close our eyes? When you let that linger and breathe deeply, you begin to sense the quiet wonder. Sleep may be more than rest, more than hidden wishes or remembered symbols. It may be the beginning of a movement, a threshold of spaces yet unnamed, where footsteps continue in worlds just beyond the eyelids. And so, the next time you close your eyes, you might consider that dreams could be more than shows of the mind. They could be steps across unseen borders, journeys into places where the personal and the universal merge, and perhaps even travel into realities that wait for you each night. Close your eyes for a moment. Inside your head, the brain, during what scientists call REM sleep, is glowing with activity. Neurons fire in quick bursts, sparking like small flashes of lightning, even while the rest of the body remains heavy and still. Your muscles lock into a kind of measured paralysis, so you do not physically act out what you see. Behind your eyelids, the eyes jerk and ripple in quick patterns as if they are watching a world unfold. This unusual state of sleep carries the most vivid dreams. For most of us, it happens several times each night, sometimes lasting for minutes, sometimes for longer stretches. It is like lying down in silence while a storm of light pulses endlessly inside your brain. This state is not calm like the deeper stages of slow-wave sleep. It is restless and bright. The rapid eye movements are so pronounced that sleep researchers gave them a name, REM, to mark them as distinct. During the stage, the body is trapped between stillness and wild internal movement. Signals that would normally travel down from your brain to your muscles are dampened, leaving the body limp. Yet up above, imagery and sensations swirl into sequences that feel convincing. Breathing changes too, becoming irregular. Heart rate may rise and fall unpredictably. All of this mirrors the drama of what the inner mind is experiencing. It is almost a contradiction. Your body silent, your brain alive with fire. The mystery is why we invest hours every night in such an energy-heavy state. Sleep in general makes sense for survival. It restores the body, balances metabolism, repairs cells. But REM sleep stands out as odd. It consumes great amounts of energy, flooding the brain with activity that is almost closer to wakefulness than to rest. For a species that evolved to conserve resources and guard against danger in the night, why spend so much time lost in inner fireworks? That is the puzzle scientists continue to ask. Dreams might feel like stories we watch passively, yet nature seems to insist we repeat this process again and again. One scientific answer is known as the activation synthesis proposal. According to this idea, the random neural sparks firing through the brain during REM rise up like scattered noise. The higher brain, especially areas linked to vision and storytelling, tries to weave these sparks into some coherent picture. Out of fragments, the dreamer sees flowing rivers, great buildings, or familiar faces. The narrative does not arrive first. It emerges because the brain dislikes chaos. In this view, dreams are patched together illusions born from impulses that had no plan or direction. That would make them a form of byproduct, a byway of the nervous system carrying out maintenance during sleep. And yet, when you wake from a dream, it often feels like more than static or stitched fragments. A dream may include tension, comedy, relief, or fear arranged in careful order. It may deliver a clear emotional impact, so strong that you carry it into your morning. Random sparks do not explain why these stories feel so structured, nor why they teach and terrify us with such intensity. The contrast between meaningless bursts of neurons and the richness of experienced dreams is striking. If the dream is truly formed from noise, then why is its order so convincing and its feeling so potent? Further research hints that dreams may be less random than once assumed. During sleep, particularly in REM, the brain replays patterns. Imagine a musician practicing in daylight. At night, the brain quietly rehearses the fingering, re-performing the learned skill. Students in language classes sometimes find themselves repeating words or grammar soon after lessons. They report dreaming of it without effort. Athletes experience dreamlike rehearsals of movements. Even animals follow this pattern. A rat navigating a maze will re-dream the same pathway in REM sleep the night after training. These observations suggest dreams are not just decoration, but part of memory refinement. The function goes deeper still. Dreams take recent experiences and integrate them with older arrangements, blending them until the memory web is reshaped. In doing so, they may adjust emotional weight. A painful event can be rehearsed under safer conditions until its sting lessens. A cherished moment can be replayed and reinforced. Such processes mean that when we open our eyes in the morning, the mind is not the same as it was when we close them. It has been remodeled, patterns smoothed, or carved in ways that carry forward into waking life. Through this lens, dreams act like tools of learning and integration. These findings raise questions that linger quietly. If dreams are rehearsals of memory and potential skills, then are we only spectators of inner sparks or participants in immersive simulations? When you dream of walking down a street, talking with a figure, or flying above landscapes, it feels real enough at that moment. The body remains still, yet the experience is convincing. This closeness to waking sensation suggests dreams function less like random cartoons and more like genuine environments. They allow us to play, repeat, test, or rework the experiences of daytime life. Science may explain this in plausible terms, but the effect is no less mesmerizing. What appears to be idle nighttime theater is actually tied to survival. By shaping memory, regulating emotion, and practicing skills, the brain uses REM as a hidden classroom. Even though you may not recognize it, your body and mind design these narratives to reorganize fragile experiences into lessons. This function helps explain why people forced into long deprivation of REM begin to suffer mood changes, impaired judgment, and memory issues. To lose that nightly rehearsal is to lose a core part of yourself. Consider the quiet elegance of this system. Biological impulses flicker like sparks, yes, but rather than letting them remain aimless, the higher mind threads them into symbolic worlds. Within those crafted spaces, life rehearses itself. This delicate play strengthens, repairs, and balances the mind. Dreams, then, are not distractions, but hidden functions, woven into the rhythms of survival itself. They show us that the dream is not simply illusion, it is part of how we stay whole, part of how meaning takes shape from chaos. And when we think about these roles, a second question comes softly to mind. If science shows how dreams function, could it be missing the full picture? Looking only for purpose may blur more expansive possibilities. The dream feels real not only because of practice or memory replay, it feels real because in it you act, speak, decide, and believe. That active participation may suggest something that function alone cannot capture. The awareness inside the dream mirrors the awareness of waking life in ways difficult to dismiss. It does not feel like a rehearsal. It feels like living. So we arrive at a gentle junction. Neuroscience explains the necessity of dreams, their role in mental order, their protective rhythms for mood and skill. But others see, within the vividness of dreaming, the suggestion of more than function. They suspect that we might not only practice skills or soften fears. We could be experiencing the threshold of realities that unfold when the body rests. It is possible that dreams are not confined to rehearsal. They may be stages opening out in unexpected directions. All of this reflection quietly leads us to an even stranger observation. Sometimes, within the dream itself, the dreamer becomes aware. Sometimes you realize that you are sleeping, and yet you continue to act within the dream as if it were your own canvas. You begin to shape the space around you, aware that it is dream and yet still inside it. This moment changes the whole landscape of dreaming. It raises a new question. What happens when in the middle of a dream, the dreamer actually begins to know that they are dreaming? Imagine the moment when you realize that the dream unfolding around you is, in fact, a dream. You are lying still in your bed, yet inside your mind you are walking down a hallway or flying across a wide stretch of sky. At first, you accept the dream as you always do, but then something shifts. A sense of recognition emerges, and you understand that this is not waking reality. You know you are dreaming, and with that awareness comes something else, the ability to shape what happens next. This is the quiet gateway of lucid dreaming, a state where the dreamer not only watches, but steers. Lucid dreaming is not as rare as it might sound. Many people experience it at least once in their lives, often during childhood or adolescence, when dreams tend to be vivid and boundless. At its simplest, lucidity means the realization while still asleep that what you are experiencing isn't physically present. But the experience rarely stops there. Some dreamers gain a kind of control. They can decide whether to walk or to fly, whether to step into a new scene, or even whether to face challenges directly. Unlike ordinary dreams, which often carry you like a current, lucid dreams allow you to set your own direction within them. The strangeness lies not only in what you do, but in how awareness returns despite the sleeping brain. If sleep is when consciousness lets go, then how does it stir to life again without ending the dream altogether? Imagine the brain as a city whose lights dim at night. In lucid dreaming, it is as if certain districts come back to life while the rest remain deeply at rest. Researchers studying this phenomenon have noticed that the parts of the brain linked to attention and self-awareness, such as regions in the prefrontal cortex, show a flicker of activity even as the dream continues to unfold. This small waking flame allows you to stand inside your dream and remember, this is a dream and I am here. Once awareness returns, the possibilities expand. People often describe flying as their first act. The body might take off without effort, soaring above trees, roads, or oceans. Others choose to transform their setting. A narrow room might widen into balconies overlooking mountains. A closed door could open into childhood places or strange, invented cities. Some dreamers step directly into rehearsals, playing instruments, practicing lines for performance, testing conversations they are anxious about. Others face deeply personal fears. They turn toward a figure that once terrified them in nightmares and speak directly, finding peace through dialogue. These are not stories made up after waking. They are lived experiences inside the dream world, remembered with striking clarity. Imagine someone who wakes night after night from the same nightmare, a figure chasing them, a place of danger repeating. In ordinary dreams, this feels inescapable, but lucidity offers another path. With awareness, that same dreamer can stop running. They might decide to stand still and watch, or they may ask the figure what it represents. For some, this change ends years of fear, turning terrifying dreams into moments of insight. Therapists have studied lucid dreaming for exactly this reason. It supplies a way to work with trauma or recurring images, allowing the dreamer to enter the fear itself, but with newfound control. Instead of being trapped by a nightmare, they reshape it into a conversation or a transformed space. The potential use doesn't stop there. Lucid dreaming has been explored for skill development. Musicians sometimes practice complex movements while lucid. Athletes rehearse precise maneuvers or confront anxiety before competition. The brain responds almost as if these activities were real. Neural pathways light up during the practice, strengthening the skill much as waking rehearsal would. What begins as an unreal experience creates waking benefits. This highlights a curious truth. Even though the body lies still, the dream mind interacts in ways that echo back into waking life. But the state is fragile, balanced delicately between waking and sleeping. Too much awareness, and the dreamer stirs awake. Too little, and lucidity slips away. This hybrid condition, half the mind grounded in sleep, half stirred into awareness, creates the strangeness of lucid dreams. You are both resting and awake, both passive and in control. It plays with the boundary we often take for granted, the sharp divide between night illusions and daytime clarity. Yet in lucid dreaming, the border is blurred. You are in both places at once. This raises a profound question. Does lucidity prove that dreams themselves are less separate from waking reality than we assume? After all, if you can act inside them with decision and memory, if you can bring back skills learned there into waking hours, then are they mere illusions? Or do they suggest that the dream world, though fragile, possesses a kind of real responsiveness? Answering this is not simple, but the experience lingers. When you wake from a lucid dream, the memory is not faint. It is often as strong as lived events, echoing with a weight that other dreams rarely match. This memory can alter choices, ease fears, and inspire creativity in ways that truly spill into waking life. Picture standing in a dream square, aware of the fact that no stones are under your feet, no air truly moves through your hands. Still, you walk and breathe. You might speak to figures who answer back with surprising independence. They may know things you do not expect. They may act as though they themselves are real. In that moment, lucidity blurs the line rather than sharpens it. You are awake inside a fabrication, yet the fabrication seems to respond to your will. Does this mean the dream is yours alone, or could it suggest that the landscape has an existence of its own, waiting for you to notice? What can be said with certainty is that lucid dreams show dream worlds are not mere shadows passing through the night. They are places to act, to experiment, to change both fear and desire into choices. They are alive in their own way, not passive backdrops, but interactive fields. A dream that once carried you helplessly now allows you to stand, to decide, to shape. That difference alone has deepened the fascination of dreamers for centuries. Lucidity is no longer entertainment or curiosity. It is lived proof that the dream world can be engaged, and yet, as meaningful as lucidity is, some suggest it is still only the beginning. Becoming aware and learning to move or shape the imagery may be the first threshold. Beyond it may lie even stranger possibilities. The idea that lucidity could allow you not only to guide a dream, but to access entirely different states of consciousness. Some teachings whisper that once you can remain aware in dreams, you may stretch that awareness into places beyond the mind's usual reach, perhaps outside ordinary concepts of time and space. This thought leads us back to those sparks of possibility from ancient traditions, from parapsychology, and from modern experiments with beyond-body experiences. If lucidity proves that we can shape and engage with dreamscapes, what would it mean if those dreamscapes themselves connect to something larger? Could lucidity be a stepping stone toward travel not only inside imagination, but also toward realms that exist as real in their own sense? For now, we can settle with what lucidity clearly shows. Dreams do not need to be passive, drifting films behind our eyes. They can be entered with awareness, reshaped, and remembered with clarity. They can be tools of creativity, healing, rehearsal, and exploration. They reveal the ability of the mind not just to observe, but to build. And in moments when you find yourself awake within them, you may sense you have touched something uniquely human, a reminder that even in the depths of sleep, consciousness is never fully silent. Lucid dreaming invites you to walk inside the very fabric of your mind, but with the hands of choice. It shows you a world both familiar and strange, a realm that blends waking clarity with the floating fluid nature of dreams. It stands as evidence that sleep is not only absence. It can be a stage where imagination becomes experience and where awareness transforms the unreal into something lived. As powerful as this is, the story does not end here. For some, lucidity opened not only playful control or healing freedom, but the sense that awareness itself could stretch beyond the personal dream. They hinted that once the dreamer holds onto the thread of consciousness, it may be pulled further, past the private landscapes of the brain toward other kinds of vision. So perhaps lucidity is not the peak of dream exploration, but one threshold in a series. That question lingers softly as we take the next step. If we can shape the dream by knowing we are in it, what might happen if this awareness carried us beyond even the space of dreams themselves? Could a dream carry you further than your own memories, reaching into symbols placed in another room? Imagine lying in sleep, surrounded by the quiet of a laboratory, electrodes tracing the rhythm of your brain. You drift into the vivid landscape of REM, unaware that on a nearby table lies a card sealed in an envelope, its image hidden from every waking eye. In the room outside, researchers wait, holding their breath and recording the moments your dream grows intense. When you finally wake, they ask gently, "What did you see?" And what follows is not ordinary recall, but a description that at times seems to echo the hidden image. This was the setting of dream experiments that tried to measure something astonishing, whether the mind at night could reach beyond itself. The studies unfolded in small, careful rooms, often with dreamers sleeping, while observers watched through glass. Participants were monitored with machines that detected the shifts into REM sleep, marked by the telltale flicker of eye movement. When those signals appeared, researchers would gently wake the dreamers and request immediate reports of what they had seen. In another space, sealed pictures had been chosen, photographs, paintings, or simple drawings that carried striking imagery. The dream reports were then compared to the unseen targets. If a dreamer spoke of rivers flowing or bright animals shining in color, and the hidden card showed a vivid painting of water or beasts, the researchers took note. Again and again the process repeated. Sleep, wake, retell, compare. The method was daring because it suggested the dream could be more than an inward performance. Instead of the brain simply replaying memory fragments or practicing skills, the dream may have touched objects hidden nearby. Hundreds of trials were carried out with this procedure. To many, the results were surprising. The accuracy rates appeared above what chance alone would permit. Dreamers seemed to sketch outlines of images they had never seen. One might dream of climbing tall structures, and the sealed card turned out to be a skyscraper photograph. Another recounted gentle animals grazing, while the hidden image was of deer in a meadow. Though accounts were never perfect copies, the parallels left researchers unsettled. How does a dreamer asleep in one room describe elements of something chosen secretly elsewhere? Over the years, reviews were carried out to test whether the unusual results belonged to random luck or to patterns that kept repeating. Key figures in parapsychology analyzed years' worth of trials. One such effort by Honorton and Ferrari reviewed collections of dream ESP tests gathered from many studies. When stacked together, the statistics told a curious story. The probability that the results were due to random chance was calculated at a tiny fraction, around 0.0975%. In other words, if these findings were accidental, the odds against coincidence were high. With so many dreams reported and so many comparisons made, such a level of accuracy could not be waved away easily. The intrigue deepened when word spread that these unusual experiments received interest not only from fringe circles, but also from official support. Grants were awarded, and funding at times came from agencies not usually associated with dreaming research. The idea that federal money supported laboratories where sleepers guessed hidden cards gave the studies a new weight. This was not just a late-night curiosity of enthusiasts. It had enough pull to reach institutions responsible for serious scientific judgment. For the public, this added a layer of official intrigue. If governments were willing to pay for these explorations, then perhaps there was something substantial in the data. And yet, even with such numbers, the field stirred debate. Some scientists praised the daring methods and the persistence of tracking hundreds of dreams by laboratory conditions. They pointed to the results as evidence that the human mind, in the fragile bridge of sleep, might open channels beyond our known senses. Others remained skeptical, stressing the possibility of bias, subtle cues, or methodological flaws. They questioned the interpretation of the dream reports. Since dreams are naturally full of shifting images, it would not be difficult, they said, to find matching symbols after the fact. For them, the intriguing statistics did not erase the possibility of unconscious influence or analytical errors. Still, those who took the experiment seriously returned to the personal experience of the dreamers. Imagine being awakened in mid-REM, speaking in half-sleep about what felt like ordinary dream wandering, only later hearing that your vision mirrored a sealed card. chosen at random. For the participants, this could not be dismissed with numbers alone. The felt sense of connection lingered. Dreams often feel real to us, but with these experiments, they gained an additional claim. Glimpses of what was withheld, signs that consciousness might not be fully contained within the skull. It is important to pause here. These experiments did not always succeed. There were many cases where dream reports bore no resemblance to the hidden images. Failures appeared alongside successes, and the results varied from study to study. Yet even with failures noted, across hundreds of attempts, the balance still seemed to tilt toward accuracy above mere chance. That uneven but noticeable pull suggested to some that while the channel was imperfect, it might indeed be open. For believers, it was like hearing faint music through static, distorted, uncertain, but undeniably there. Others focused on the very nature of dreams as agents of connection. If dreams are already rehearsals of memory and imagination woven together, why should they not also weave in threads from beyond ordinary perception? A state where the body is quiet but the mind flooded with inner pictures could be more sensitive to signals we ignore in waking life. Dreams are less bound by logic and linear time. They allow images to blend freely, which could open the door to impressions unregistered by the waking senses. With this in mind, some argued that dreaming may be the natural window for perception that stretches past physical borders. But skepticism has never faded. Critics emphasized selective reporting, the danger of interpreting vague dream accounts under the influence of suggestion or subtle experimenter effects. If a researcher knew the hidden target, even the faintest intonation when questioning could shape how dream reports were interpreted. This called for stricter blinding of tests, something not always practiced in earlier studies. These reminders did not erase the reported findings, but urged caution. They showed how delicate this area of research remained, requiring near perfection in design to ward off doubt. Still, the debate itself kept the idea alive. People are naturally drawn to the possibility of dream foresight or connection. To imagine that while asleep, you could describe details of a picture sealed in another room touches something ancient and enduring. It revives the older sense of dreams as channels rather than shadows, experiences that reach where ordinary senses cannot. For participants in the experiments, whether or not science agreed, the personal proof seemed enough. Waking from sleep to realize their dream echoed something hidden, confirmed a suspicion carried for centuries, that dreams may be more than illusions. If we put the pieces together, the experiments represent a bridge. On one side lies the scientific method, statistics, meta-analyses, careful observation. On the other side lies the timeless human yearning to treat dreams as windows into larger truth. The bridge does not yet reach to certainty, but it carries traffic both ways. Dreams in these laboratories were tested as real channels, not merely tales of myth or psychology. And even if the evidence never settled the debate, it opened a lasting question. If the results cannot be explained only by chance, what else might they suggest? Such work eventually caught attention beyond psychology departments and parapsychology circles. Curiosity was not limited to academic halls or small groups of enthusiasts. The sense that dreams could contain access to hidden knowledge or provide sights beyond ordinary reach drew interest from intelligence communities as well. Programs meant to measure consciousness, altered states, and possible applications for perception drew government eyes. The fact that dream studies could lead to such pathways shows how powerful this speculation had become. Scientists, skeptics, believers, and officials all found themselves circling around the same strange question. Are dreams quiet performances of the mind, or are they also bridges that allow us to see more than we realize? As we leave this chapter of research, the conclusion is not clear, but the journey is. Inside small laboratory rooms, sleepers were awakened and asked to tell the pictures that live behind their eyes. Sometimes those pictures matched cards they never saw. Sometimes they did not. But the presence of both fascination and doubt reveals what dreams continue to be for us. Mysteries capable of stirring equal excitement and caution. The dream ESP studies left behind more questions than answers, but they proved one essential point. Dreams are never taken lightly. Whether seen as soft illusions or as extraordinary channels, they demand our attention, and it was exactly that shared curiosity mixed with uncertainty that pulled larger organizations into the story. For when dream experiments reach beyond psychology journals and into the watchful interest of intelligence programs, the question stretches even wider. If awareness inside a dream might connect us to hidden images, then what other doorways could it open? That curiosity grew strong enough that agencies devoted to national security began to listen, wondering quietly if the sleeping mind could act as more than memory. And so the path leads us forward, toward methods and manuals that claim to open gateways even further than the dream state itself. Picture this: a plain-looking manual sitting on a desk with words that suggest it can open gateways hidden from everyday sight. Not with complex machines or laboratories filled with wires, but with sound, tones played in the ears, and with the quiet focus of the mind itself. The idea seems simple on the surface, almost gentle, yet behind this manual sat a mix of institutions and interests, including intelligence agencies. The gateway process, as it became known in classified documents, invited both curiosity and caution. At its center was the idea that by bringing the two halves of the brain into harmony, a person might slip beyond the limits of the physical body and step into expanded states of awareness. The method came from the Monroe Institute, a center dedicated to exploring human consciousness. There, researchers believed that sound could act as a kind of bridge. They developed what they called hemispheric synchronization, often shortened to hemisync. Imagine two tones, just slightly different in frequency, played separately into the left and right ear. Together, the brain interprets them as a third tone, a pulse that seems to come from within the mind itself. Listening to these tones for long periods, combined with breathing and visualization, was said to nudge both hemispheres of the brain into a balanced, synchronized rhythm. This balance was described as a state of resonance, where left and right hemispheres no longer worked separately, but in smoother unity. In that state, participants were guided to reach profound relaxation. You can picture someone lying still, wearing headphones, listening to slow pulses and tones layered with subtle sounds of wind or music. Their breathing evens. Their body becomes relaxed, almost like the stillness before sleep, but their awareness remains focused and alert. This is not drifting into unconscious slumber. It is holding awake attention while the body sinks into deep stillness. The intention was to tune the mind like an instrument until it could resonate at frequencies believed to align with altered states. the stated aim was not limited to relaxation or meditation. According to the manuals, this process could bring the mind to expanded levels, where time and space felt softer and where consciousness itself might stretch beyond the physical body. Some participants described sensations of floating just outside themselves. They reported lifting, separating, and looking down as though their awareness had stepped free. These accounts were spoken of as out-of-body experiences. Others spoke of traveling vast distances in an instant, of encountering what they called non-ordinary realms, or of gaining new perspectives on personal questions. Though reports varied, a common thread was the feeling of stepping beyond ordinary waking perception. For those exploring the gateway process, even if these journeys were only produced by the brain itself, the experience was powerful. The sensations of detachment and expansion felt more vivid than imagined scenes. They carried a sense of reality, in the same way dreams often do. But here, the difference was that the person remained aware and in control throughout. It had the calm clarity of lucid dreaming, but stretched into a state where dream, meditation, and waking awareness blended together. What adds another layer is the interest shown by official bodies. Decades later, declassified documents revealed CIA assessments of the gateway experience. Notes written in matter-of-fact tones described how the process might potentially allow exploration of areas beyond physical limits. Some parts discuss the brain in scientific language, frequencies, resonance, brain waves. Other parts, however, wander into ideas of consciousness leaving the body, of links to concepts like time travel or perception beyond ordinary senses. Reading these reports, one sees a tension. On the one hand, the sober attempt to chart the workings of neural patterns. On the other, the suggestion that humans could move awareness through unseen dimensions. This leaves us with questions. Was the gateway process a form of science, built upon careful observation of brain waves and resonance? Was it closer to meditation, an organized discipline to calm the mind and deepen focus? Or was it something stranger, a bridge that opened access to realms much like the dream world, but entered with intent rather than by chance? When government analysts cataloged the Monroe Institute's work, it showed that, at the very least, such questions were not ignored. They were studied and considered, even if cautious in their conclusions. Think for a moment about how this sits alongside what we have already seen in dreams. In REM sleep, the body is still while the mind explodes with imagery. In lucid dreaming, the dreamer recognizes and shapes the dream. In the gateway process, a similar threshold is suggested. Here again, the body rests in quiet, muscles unmoving, while awareness travels into landscapes that feel real enough to carry weight. The difference is simply intention. Rather than waiting for sleep to carry you into images, practitioners of the gateway method train to bring themselves toward altered states deliberately, using sound and sharp focus as the keys. The parallel is hard to overlook. Imagine how attractive this would appear to agencies in search of possibilities. If dreams could hint at foresight, and if vibrations of sound and synchronized brainwaves could perhaps expand perception, then testing such methods would seem a practical step. The truth hidden in the declassified files is slower, more restrained than imagination might want. They do not present concrete proof. Instead, they catalog experiences, describe methods, and weigh possibilities in cautious language. But even the fact that such possibilities were given study adds fuel to the fascination. Take a breath and picture someone deep in the gateway experience. Their breathing is slow, their body heavy, yet their sense of self is not resting. The manual tells them to imagine rising, to picture energy moving upward, to allow attention to float away. The sounds in the headphones pulse like a gentle engine. The participant begins to describe leaving their body behind. Whether this is the brain's projection or a literal stepping out becomes impossible to say. What matters is what they feel, and what many described was expansive, moving freely as if the body were a shell, awareness continuing as light. These sensations echo reports from across history. Shamans, monks, mystics, all told of journeys beyond the body through trance and ritual. The gateway material placed such claims into a modern frame, with references to hertz and synchronization, with tones produced by machines rather than drums or chants. At its core, though, the experiences shared similarities. The body inactive, the mind awake, the self appearing to move in ways not possible by flesh alone. Whether science or spirituality, the pattern remains the same. What intrigues us is the overlap. When asked where dreams go, we are uncertain. When asked if meditation opens access to higher consciousness, we are uncertain too. The gateway process rests at the meeting of these two mysteries. On one side, the mechanical, tones, pulse, synchronization. On the other, the mystical, journeys beyond the body, visions not bound by time. It is not simple exercise, yet not wholly myth. Instead, it points to a space where human experiment and human vision collide. The mini payoff hidden here is the link it provides. If dreaming pulls us into shifting inner landscapes while we sleep, and if lucidity lets us take control of those visions, the gateway process represents a further step. It offers to do the same exploration, but with our eyes closed in waking rest, with no need to wait for chance. It suggests that the barrier between sleep dream and altered state exploration could be thinner than we think. Both may bring us to the same doorway. The only difference is which key we use to unlock it. Perhaps that is why so much interest swirled around this material. If conscious attention can truly shape and expand, then maybe dream travel, meditation, and hemisync tones are not separate at all. They might be different paths crossing the same bridge. The idea is less about proving or disproving and more about noticing the shared possibility that humans carry within themselves the means to touch states of awareness wider than daylight logic allows. And as we hold that thought, we return softly to the human side of the question. It is striking when altered states bring insight or out-of-body journeys. But there are also times when dreams themselves walk into our waking lives, appearing with images that seem to speak of events not yet arrived. From presidents to poets, from ordinary people to famous names, many have reported dreams that felt like foreshadowing of reality itself. Which leads us gently into another question altogether. What happens when dreams do not just expand the mind, but appear to look forward in time? Picture this: a quiet room within the White House, heavy curtains drawn, the house itself still with midnight air. The president lies asleep, and what comes to him is not a fleeting image or pleasant scene. Instead, he dreams of wandering into the East Room. There he sees a coffin draped in black. Guards stand nearby, heads bowed in solemn vigil. The atmosphere carries grief and ceremony. In his dream, he asks who has died, and the voice that answers tells him it is the President of the United States. Abraham Lincoln, as history recalls, later described this vision before his own assassination. Whether shared as truly experienced or remembered in hindsight, the dream has lingered for generations as something unsettling. A coffin before the coffin, a foreshadowing wrapped in sleep. Now picture a steamboat gliding softly across the water in the 19th century. Mark Twain, before one of his journeys, woke from a dream shaken. In that dream, he had seen his brother lying in a coffin with flowers placed on his chest. Days later, his brother indeed died in an accident. And when Twain saw him prepared for burial, the image was as he had dreamed. For him, it was not merely memory, but a haunting echo. The dream seemed to pierce the veil between private imagination and actual outcome. Just as with Lincoln, the story has survived because it unsettles our ordinary sense of time. It suggests that the mind, during sleep, may at times step forward, noticing threads not yet woven into waking events. Across history, such stories have continued to collect like quiet whispers. Passengers who never boarded the Titanic reported that before the voyage they experienced troubling dreams of sinking seas, or found themselves waking in fear of deep water. Some canceled their trips because of these heavy feelings. When the ship hit the iceberg and sank, the dreams gained new weight in memory. Whether coincidence or true foresight, those dreams altered behavior, shaping outcomes for individuals who trusted the warnings of sleep. Such accounts remind us how profoundly we give attention to dreams when they match events. We remember them in detail, convinced that somehow the sleeping mind had touched time in a way that the waking mind could not. These examples highlight a tension. On one hand, you can say such dreams are rare coincidences, their details selective. Out of thousands of ordinary, forgettable dreams, a few will happen to match real events by chance. On the other hand, when the match is detailed and meaningful, the question tugs at us. Are these only accidents in a sea of randomness? Or do humans carry within dreams some faculty we do not understand? A faculty that reaches beyond the present moment itself. Dreams of coffins, accidents, or disasters seem dark, but they persist not because of fear, but because they hint at a mysterious link between imagination and time. Public fascination with prophetic dreams is not hard to understand. The idea that sleep can whisper warnings is deeply human. Entire families have stories. Someone who woke before an accident, someone who dreamed of illness before symptoms showed. Whether large-scale events like the Titanic or quiet domestic tragedies, the pattern is the same. People rarely dismiss such dreams if they clearly connect to waking outcomes. They tell the stories to friends, pass them down to relatives, and preserve them in journals. Each account renews the sense that dreams act as messengers, able to see past the limits of the everyday. Science, however, moves more carefully. Researchers caution against reading too much into anecdotes. The reasoning is straightforward. People dream every night, and those dreams are vivid, emotional, and abundant in detail. With millions of dreams occurring across populations, some are bound to resemble real events later. It may only be natural coincidence, especially since dreams often explore fears. A world with many fears of water will naturally produce some dreams of sinking ships. When disaster strikes, those particular dreams receive memory's spotlight. The countless other unfulfilled dreams fade and are forgotten. From this perspective, dream prophecy is not foresight, but selective recall, memory, favoring what seems meaningful while discarding what was not. This does not erase the strangeness of the timing. To those who experienced dreams that matched reality, it does not matter what statistics say. The feeling of recognition, the shock of standing in a moment you already dreamed, lends those experiences a powerful force. A scientist may call it coincidence, but the person who lived it calls it warning. And it is that lived belief, not scientific agreement, that grants dreams their hold upon human imagination. The power of the story lies less in proving a mechanism and more in showing how deeply people treat their dream visions as guidance. Think again of Lincoln's coffin dream. Even if it was coincidence or later memory shaped into narrative, the cultural meaning remains. The story of a president dreaming his own death resonates because it captures the eerie sense that sleeping images may brush against history before history is written. Mark Twain's dream of his brother's funeral carries a simpler but more personal pain. He felt his own mind had touched the event before it came. Together, these stories illustrate how we handle uncertainty by believing that dreams might bring whispers beyond the present. For families of Titanic passengers who avoided the voyage because of troubling sleep, the dream literally carried life-saving weight. Science may not accept these as proof, but the people who lived them did not need proof. They needed only the persuasion of the dream itself. This is why tales of prophetic dreams stay alive. They offer an emotional truth, even when logical proof is absent. You may hear of them in documentaries, journals, or casual stories shared between relatives. They spark reflection because they show how people place trust in the mysterious. They show that sleep, usually considered private and forgettable, can burst into daytime decisions that change fates. Dreams turn from idle images into warnings worth heeding. That shift grants them gravity, whether or not analysis confirms their foresight. So, are prophetic dreams illusions of chance or evidence of a deeper pattern? The honest answer is that no one knows with certainty. Studies have tested perception in dreams, and anecdotes continue to collect. Each perspective carries weight. One sees only statistics, the other sees lived experience. In the space between them, dreams keep their mystery intact. They never settle into either camp fully. Striking dreams may be coincidences that memory inflates, but they may also be moments where consciousness brushes lightly against strands of time not yet unwound. Both possibilities remain alive because neither has been fully set aside. For us, what matters most is not the scientific verdict, but the undeniable power of belief. If people act as though their dreams warn them of danger, then in practice, those dreams hold power. The mere act of believing alters behavior. A dream of water may stop someone from boarding a ship. A dream of illness may push someone to see a doctor early. And when those actions prevent harm, the dream shapes life every bit as strongly as any tangible event. In this way, foresight does not need to be proven true to matter. Dreams become real through the choices they influence. Reflect for a moment on the strange dynamic. Ordinary dream images rarely linger. Most vanish when daylight comes. But when a dream brushes against reality with strong alignment, memory holds it firm. It is retold, written down, stored as evidence of something extraordinary. These special dreams gain a longer life than ordinary ones. They change how communities speak about fate, destiny, and the hidden powers of the mind. They create space where cultures consider that dreams may contain more than images of the past, that they might draw from the future. What is striking is that philosophy has long entertained this question. To many thinkers, dreams and reality are not strictly separate. Time itself may not be the straight line we imagine, but something shaped and reshaped by the presence of observers. In these frameworks, a dream might not break a rule by reaching forward. Rather, it may rest within a wider fabric of consciousness, where past, present, and future are woven together. From this perspective, prophetic dreams appear not as accidents, but as glimpses of deeper order. Even if coincidence explains most cases, the fascination persists because dreams still feel as if they touch more than private imagination. They bring weight and meaning when they arrive with symmetry to waking events. This weight is not diminished by debate. It is only amplified by the mystery of not knowing. When Lincoln's dream is retold, when Twain's grief is remembered, when the Titanic stories resurface, what we feel is not only curiosity, but reverence. Dreams feel larger than us. They stretch into places where explanation falters. And here, softly, the thought arises. If so many across time have treated their dreams as forerunners of reality, then perhaps the truth lies not in proof, but in perspective. Belief itself makes such dreams powerful. To act on them is to give them form and waken life. To remember them is to give them permanence. Whether prophecy or accident, they occupy a position that transforms private visions into shared history. Philosophers now speak in even broader terms, suggesting that what we call reality may be less fixed than we'd suppose, shaped instead by consciousness itself. In that frame, dreams that seem to reach forward do not break rules. They reveal the hidden role of awareness in crafting time. This is the idea of biocentrism, the thought that life and consciousness hold priority over the space and moments we think are external. And if consciousness truly shapes time, then what we call prophetic dreaming may simply be the mind revealing what it already touches. So, from coffins glimpsed before arrival to warnings remembered after disaster, dreams continue to carry the question. Are they glimpses of chance, or are they hints of a deeper principle waiting to be seen? Whatever the answer, dreams remind us that the mystery of time and reality cannot be folded neatly. And as we turn to the possibility of consciousness itself shaping space and time, the dream's whisper grows louder, beckoning us to think of reality in new ways. What if the world around us depends not on fixed laws, but on the presence of an observer? It can feel like a bold thought that reality may not exist fully formed until it is seen, sensed, or lived through. Yet some ideas of science and philosophy suggest exactly this, that the act of being alive and aware is not a byproduct of the universe, but its foundation. Instead of reality creating life, life itself could be creating what we call reality. When framed in this way, the dream becomes more than a curiosity of the night. It becomes an example we encounter daily of consciousness creating landscapes and staging events, all without the need of a physical world outside. This perspective forms the heart of a proposal known as biocentrism. It says that life and consciousness do not simply sit inside time and space as containers. Instead, time and space appear only because there are beings present to experience them. You can picture it not as objects forming perception, but perception forming objects. Imagine a stage with no scenery until the players arrive. Only when they step forward and focus does the stage blossom into mountains, rivers, cities, and faces. Dreams then may stand as living proof. Each night, the mind, out of stillness, spins entire worlds. They feel as though they have depth, light, sound, and touch. Yet all of these arise within consciousness itself. This reverses the picture most of us hold. We often think of the world as material, solid, and external, with awareness floating above it like a flame on water. But if we look closely at dreams, the flame begins to look more like the hearth. Awareness is central, and the stage of space and time emerges around it. As we drift into sleep, there is no external sunlight to explain the brightness of a dream dawn, no physical air to justify the wind we feel rushing past us, no actual voices to account for the people speaking clearly in the dream world. And yet, they are there. They feel convincing. The experience demonstrates a principle. Consciousness is not simply reacting, it is producing reality moment by moment. Think of how convincing some dreamscapes become. You might walk a shoreline, hearing the waves pull back and crash again. You may taste food prepared by a figure who does not exist when you wake. You may turn your head in the dream and notice stars above a village you have never seen before and cannot find on a map. These elements do not arrive from an outside place. They arrive because the mind participates. The dream reveals that reality is not something passively received, but actively crafted. Biocentrism stretches this point and asks, what if waking life is no different, only steadier in its patterns? From a soothing view, every night is a quiet demonstration of this. You lie in silence, the eyes closed, the room absent. And yet in the theater of sleep, galaxies rise, conversations begin, walls and houses spread outward, mornings and evenings shift within a single hour. It is a workshop of creation played again and again in miniature. If we take it seriously, then each dream is less a leftover scrap of memory and more a rehearsed lesson. You are the source of space and time as you know it. This reframes the dream not as a shadow, but a nightly reminder of what consciousness does best, making experience into reality. Now pause and notice the sense of freedom this carries. If reality requires our attention to crystallize, then nothing is entirely fixed. Dreams themselves demonstrate this uncertainty, shifting from scene to scene without contradiction. That shifting recalls what physicists notice in the quantum world, where particles do not exist with certainty until measured. Until they are observed, they remain possibilities. This is not a perfect overlap, but the echo is clear. Dreams exist first as pure potential. Only when we wake inside one, recognizing and observing, does the dream take firm shape. It also brings another layer of wonder, the idea of many worlds. If waking reality at its quantum root allows for multiple possibilities, all branching into different outcomes, then dreams may be showing these strands. Each dream can be seen as a trial of possibility, a doorway into one of countless routes reality could take. In this sense, the multitudes of nightly experiences are not empty fabrications. They may be threads that consciousness briefly touches, glimpses of paths we do not follow in waken, but still exist elsewhere. Just as the quantum view allows particles to exist in many potential states, dreams allow selves to exist in many parallel versions. Consider how natural this feels when waking from a dream. You may recall the sense of having truly lived another life for a short while. You wake, puzzled, feeling the emotions of that existence as though you carried them from another country. You may mourn events that never occurred in waking life or long for landscapes that no map can provide. The reason these memories feel heavy is that, in the moment, they were real to awareness. In biocentrism, this is not dismissed as illusion, but seen as another demonstration of mind's central role. Just as waking perception constructs the flow of hours and the depth of space, dreaming perception does the same. Each mode builds a world, but the builder is consciousness itself. When we view reality as participatory, shaped by those who live within it, dreams begin to alter their place in our imagination. In older models, dreams were thought to ride gently behind matter, reflecting without substance. But within biocentrism, dreams take the front. They are central examples, daily proof that reality does not need external walls to exist. The mind is not locked in one room, it is the room. It can open windows, write stories, and establish light sources regardless of physical input. Slowly, this view begins to soothe some tensions between science and mystery. Rather than setting dreams aside as noise, they can be seen as nightly evidence of how awareness functions. What we take as solid waking reality may itself be more like the dream than we assume. Sturdy, because many observers agree upon it, but crafted nonetheless. The trees, skies, and metronome of time appear because life requires them, because perception demands order and shape. Without life and perception, biocentrism suggests time itself would not tick, and space itself would not spread. There is comfort in this view. Imagine that each night you step into brief universes equally real in their moment, but put aside at waking. Dreams become flowers blooming and closing each night, each one vivid, complete, and gone by dawn. They remind us not of emptiness, but of the mind's capacity to produce entire realities effortlessly. When you remember a dream and carry its mood through your day, you are already proving the lasting impact of that act of creation. Even fading dreams shape waking moods, choices, and reflections. So we ask quietly, are our nightly realities just as real as the waking one, only outside ordinary reach? If awareness creates them, they exist truly for us. They impact memory, emotion, and action. They are carried in the body's rhythms and can alter hearts and decisions. By every measure of experience, they have weight. That weight points toward something important. The worlds of dream bear reality, because consciousness bestows it. This is the mini payoff biocentrism offers, the reframing of dreams from accident to centerpiece. No longer a side effect, the dream stands as nightly practice ground for life's creative power. It does not matter if the landscapes vanish at sunrise. They were real in their hour, born from the same core principle that shapes waking hours. They emphasize that reality is not a container into which we fit. Reality is generated from the life that perceives it. Every breath, sight, and memory speaks to this, just as every dream whispers the same teaching. From this perspective, we find the dream a calm reminder of a larger picture. We are not passengers drifting through a universe already written. We are participants, carrying pens, building stages, crafting the script. Reality's flow waits for the presence of life, and within each life, it is carried forward. Dreams, in their shifting worlds, show us every night what this means. They are not only entertainment or reflections, but grounded evidence, repeating demonstrations of life's role at the heart of the cosmos. And if this is true, then dreams are not limited to one version of reality, nor to one universe at all. For if consciousness creates time and space, perhaps each dream we weave connects to a wider expanse of possibility. In that quiet suggestion waits the thought that each dream might be a crossing place where awareness touches not only imagination, but entire universes living alongside our own, breathing just as softly in the night. Imagine for a moment that every single dream you enter is not just a fleeting shadow behind your eyes, but a step onto a branch of a vast tree where another version of you walks. Each branch stretches into a different sky, carrying landscapes and stories that feel both familiar and strange. Some of these paths seem light and playful, others weighted with moods that linger into the morning. You wake and think the dream has ended, but what if that branch is not? What if somewhere that dream self continues, exploring a world you briefly touched and then left behind? This quiet possibility connects easily with the many worlds idea from quantum physics. It comes from the puzzle of uncertainty, the way particles at the smallest level seem to live in more than one state until forced into a single outcome. Instead of choosing one path, the theory suggests reality may allow them all, stretching out as parallel worlds. For us, that raises a thought. Maybe each choice we make does not erase the other option, but lets it unfold in another branch of being. Through this lens, the dream world becomes less a trick of the brain and more a nightly exercise in stepping across those branches. The multiverse image asks a simple but unsettling question. When you wake, does the dream end, or does it continue without you? If you walk through a dream village, meet people, and feel their presence as solid and real, do they disappear as soon as you open your eyes? Or do they continue living inside their strand, unaware that you have returned to another? The thought alone reshapes how you stand at the border of sleep. Each night becomes not only rest, but a doorway you push open, briefly entering a hall of endless rooms. Who can say whether those rooms vanish when you step back, or whether they continue filled with the quiet footsteps of another self? Picture the nightly transition. You close your eyes, and at first there is only darkness. Slowly, a scene forms. Perhaps you see a street you have never walked before, lined with buildings that make sense even though they do not exist in your waking city. You explore, meet figures, even feel air with a texture of its own. Then you wake, and daylight insists it was only a dream. But if each dream is one doorway in a corridor stretching infinitely, you may realize these nightly landscapes simply small visits to worlds running parallel, brief chances to glimpse versions of yourself living other stories. Across time, mystics and philosophers whispered ideas close to this. Some traditions spoke of layered worlds where each soul not only lives one life but many, moving between forms of existence that overlap. Others suggested that consciousness itself is wide like a field, and what we call the self is only one pathway through it. In these accounts, dreams are not mistakes or side effects, but journeys back into those wider dimensions. The images we see are not random. They are visits to real places that share deep connections with our own. Each night, rather than traveling into fantasy, we drift across to what is just next door. In modern psychology, particularly branches that study transpersonal states, dreams are often described as explorations not closed within the self. They may open into collective or parallel fields of identity. A dream of being someone else, living another history, may not simply be symbolism. It could be part of this larger unfolding, the chance to experience life as it exists in a different thread. Philosophers studying identity ask similar questions. If each dream carries its own continuity, Who is the you that travels there? Is the dreamer always singular, or are you splitting into multiple versions joined by shared awareness? The idea reframes the act of dreaming itself. Instead of calling dreams rehearsals of waking life, they may be remembered glimpses of another. When you fly in a dream, perhaps in that branch of being, you truly can. When you speak to someone long gone, maybe in another world, their life never ended. The tug of emotion that stays with you in the morning could be the trace of a place where your story continues in a different rhythm. This does not need to diminish waking life. It only places it among countless others, making every dream a reminder that your identity is not limited to one thread. There is a calm wonder in allowing this thought. Every night becomes a journey to explore, not simply images to be interpreted. Each time you wake, you carry back impressions of other existences, sometimes light as fog, sometimes heavy as stone. They show that even if those worlds are illusions, they teach us how large consciousness might be. If they are not illusions, but real continuations, then we are larger beings than we imagine, stretched across. More universes than this one morning self can hold at once. Either way, dreaming carries us to edges we cannot ignore. When you frame dreams as multiverse doors, the ordinary details become luminous. A dream of missing a train may be a memory of another self living with that event. A dream of joy at a wedding may be the reflection of another self celebrating while this one sleeps. A dream of sudden fear or sorrow could be the echo of struggles lived elsewhere. In all of these, dreaming becomes more than remembering fragments. It is crossing, borrowing experiences from neighbors in a web of worlds. We enter, taste, and step back, each journey leaving traces that color our waking emotions long after the dream is forgotten. Some might ask if this is only poetic story-making, but even if symbolic, the image offers a gift. To view dreams as doors to multiple worlds is to honor them as more than idle illusions. It encourages care in remembering them, listening to them, carrying the moods back into the day. A dream diary becomes not only a log of inner thoughts, but perhaps a travel record of nightly explorations. Each entry may be another volume in the library of selves you touched. This way of living elevates dreaming into a central place, reminding you night journeys are woven into what it means to be alive. So, we return to the lingering reflection. Is dreaming a practice ground, as scientists suggest, rehearsing skills and softening emotions for waking life? Or is it a brief stay in another stream of being, one of many you carry quietly across the night? The choice of answer may not matter as much as the recognition of possibility. To hold open the door of wonder is to give dreams space to expand your thought of who you are. They cease being small shadows and become expansive chances. Where science leaves off at function, imagination opens into infinity. Notice how this gentle idea relieves pressure from strict proof. We do not need to demand certainty. The charm lies in allowing the possibility. Even if dreams are only private symbols, they still mirror the depth of the human mind. And if they are more brief chances to live other possibilities, then the significance grows. For either reason, each dream deserves attention. Each one offers more than nightly noise. They are signals, murmurs, or visits from realities that may never fully fade. Imagine going to sleep tonight, carrying this thought, that what waits in your dream is not just random play, but another life in motion. You may walk paths you did not in this world, speak to people you never met, make choices you never dared. When you open your eyes again, you may not remember the details, but you carry the imprint of living multiple lives. This softens the boundary of what self means. You are part of a larger whole, a being that touches more than one thread of reality. This is the mini payoff. The dream's image grows. What was once private fantasy becomes cosmic doorway. Every dream is no longer confined to your head. It expands outward into the map of the multiverse, crossing strands of being as gently as footsteps across sand. Even a fleeting image becomes vast when viewed this way. A doorway opens, a branch extends, and you walk it each night without knowing how far its paths may go. And so, even if you decide this vision is only metaphor, nothing is lost. The act of holding that possibility already makes dreams richer. They rise into significance, carrying calm wonder. They show that our curiosity is not misplaced, that our fascination for dreams across cultures and centuries still rests on a truth. They feel larger than simple noise. Dreams feel alive, like signals from worlds that meet us in the dark, which circles us back to the deepest question. Why do dreams continue to fascinate, resisting explanation from culture to science, from philosophy to physics? The answer might not fit into proof or theory. It may simply be that dreams carry the quality we need most: possibility. They open us to the thought that life stretches beyond what we can measure, and holding that thought softly is enough to reshape what reality feels like. Dreams remind us they are more than illusions. They are nightly companions guiding us toward deeper wonder. And it is exactly this lingering question: what if dreams are more real than we allow, that keeps them alive in every culture and in every heart, even as morning light returns? Across centuries, dreams have shifted between sacred omens, psychological symbols, and scientific puzzles, yet they all share one role. They bend how we think about what is real. Each culture and theory adds a layer, showing us that dreams are never simply noise of the mind. Perhaps their power is not in proof, but in possibility, in the chance each night to step into mystery. You might wake tomorrow, pause for a still moment, and wonder if the dream you carried was not finished, but waiting just beyond your eyelids, quiet, alive, and ready to continue its story.